Yeah, I think a lot of marketing majors will say like, "Hey, I'm good at social media or something." Let's just say, and then the problem and sometimes dangers of some of these things, like I'm good at this or I'm good at like TikTok or something like that, is like better be prepared to say like in what way. It's not just like your own personal use of it and that makes you an expert. It's like, have you done this amazing social media fellows program, right? Just to put a little pitch there. But it's things like that where it's like, oh, it looks like you've actually kind of used these programs. Or like a lot of marketing majors might say, hey, like I'm a creative person. Well, that can mean a lot of different things. Like, do you have proof of that? Like where you've been creative, where you've kind of added value. So like, we talk a lot of these things again within the curriculum of like adding value and what is your value proposition. And we think of these things in terms of like brands and companies, but very often these same principles could be applied, right, to you as an individual. You on that market going out is like, what is your value proposition? Like, how are you going to add value, right? What makes you unique and differentiated? And I think that's important to keep in mind.
Cool.
I mean, I think the dues are a lot of things people maybe, you know, think about probably, but I don't know how much they always do their homework. I think a lot of times, right, don't go into that interview first time, like not knowing what that company does, what are some interesting projects they're working on, right? Come a little bit prepared on, right, who you're talking to, potentially if you can do that research on who they are. Again, any interesting projects they've ever worked on. And those are the things, again, like I think we talk a lot about within marketing, within our curriculum of like differentiation. I think it's the same thing applies, right, within that interview process. Like, how can you stand out? How can you be different? I think doing that homework, having great questions, and really, I think fundamentally, the question that almost everyone is going to get asked that I think sometimes people aren't prepared enough for is like, why us, right? Why this firm? Why this organization? Why this job? And I think if you have a very clear, definite answer, shows you've done the homework, shows that you're actually engaged, you have some passion for that, you more likely can be differentiated just by being in that position alone, I think is helpful. It's just like
Cool.
avoid the simple mistakes that sometimes you can make, right? Like having, making sure you're doing that eye contact and you're not just like looking distracted or disinterested, dressing appropriately. I know some of these are the do's, but like people do not do these. And then I think it kind of looks badly on that. Funny story, back when I was kind of in the MBA program, we had practice interviews and they would film them. And they filmed the one I was in, and I just completely blanked on turning off my cell phone, and it just rung like super loud. And during this kind of practice interview, and thankfully it was a practice interview, but then they later showed that clip in class, and it was just like, don't be that guy, don't be Kevin Newman here. And so it's still like burned in my memory. And after that, of course, I never had a cell phone obviously on again for any other kind of interview. So again, and I think it's just like, just don't make those kind of like dumb simple mistakes. Be prepared, right? Do the things that are kind of expected, and then look for those ways that probably can differentiate you as a prospective kind of employee.